How's it going, everyone? How's it going, everybody? Today, the Guilty Gear patch notes are out. They're already out. The patch note released yesterday, but I was on vacation. But it is what it is. I want to do the patch rundown. I want to do everything. I want to get into the game. As soon as this video's up, I'm going to go into the game, and we're going to go play ranked. This patch has Lucy, this patch has whatever. But we finally get to ranked! Dude, we finally get to ranked. It's going to be exactly like Street Fighter 6, right? This is like the in Street Fighter 6. This is Masters in Street Fighter 6. Once you reach Vanquishers, now you get actual MMR. But that's just what we wanted. We want a system where people keep playing, where people don't get discouraged. Because a big problem with ranked is usually that when people reach like a new division, they kind of stop playing. They get this anxiety that like, if I lose the next game, it's like I demote and they don't want to demote. So they take a break, they do whatever. We want people to keep playing. We want people to have like a steady progression toward Grand Squisher. And then we get ranked for real. We get ranked for real. Alright. Anyway, big patch note, pretty big patch note. Pretty much every character got a change. I think every character got a change, right? But we're gonna go right into it. We're gonna go right into the changes. And yeah, timestamps in the descriptions probably because as you know, we're gonna go over like the system mechanics change, universal changes, and then you just go look for the changes to your character because that's how this works, right? Anyway, risk changes. Basically, you build less risk off of specials so that stray specials provide like less risk. If you look at like the changes between them, this is the previous patch and this is this patch, right? Basically, the higher your risk is, the lower you receive, kinda, for specials, but for normals, it's different. So like close slash into close slash into close slash into close slash will kind of ramp up the risk faster. But a normal block string like close slash, far slash, heavy slash into a special, into an RC, into a close slash, into a far slash, that will slightly give you lower risk. So overall, you build less risk, so you take less damage. But yeah. Overall, you build slightly less risk. They changed your yellow Roman cancel. The yellow Roman cancel changes are basically that it provides much greater knockback. Although to compensate for this, before you used to be able to jump cancel a button into air block to bait the yellow Roman cancel, but because there's more knockback, now when you block a Roman cancel in the air, you will have increased gravity scaling. I'm trying to like go over the text, but you can't. It just made the whole thing blue. Anyway, if you block a Roman cancel midair, you can still bait it. You can still bait it with an air block into a punish because you will have increased gravity scaling. So even though you're pushed back further, you land faster. So like the distance overall is pretty much the same. Stagger recovery is now the fastest it can be with just one button press. So you don't have to mash. You just need to press once and then you kind of like successfully countered the stagger and you will recover as fast as you can. All the wild assaults are getting adjusted. And finally, super PRC, like purple PRC is no longer a thing. Supers that make you invincible on frame 1 will now consume the meter on frame 1 for like 99% of the characters. I believe Faust might still have it or something like that. But basically, if you want a super PRC, you have to spend 100 meter. You can no longer just start up the super, cancel the startup into an RC to get an invincible RC. That costs 100 meters. So let's just go over the wall assault changes and then that's it. Red wall assault, or the orange wall assault, you know, the one for Soul, for Anji, for everyone, right? The normal wall assault can no longer be cancelled on block. So you can use it to extend your combos on hit, you can use it to get more corner carry, to get everything, but you can't use it to extend your pressure, kind of how you would use a Roman cancel, right? So now, no longer cancelable on block, and it's going to be, we'll show it here, it's going to be -3. Blue Roman cancel, increased damage scaling and blowback scaling upon hitting the opponent. So the idea behind blue Roman cancel is that this is the Roman cancel you want to use to guard crush your opponent. You want to use this Roman cancel to make a block string, get some setup, like with Baiken, you want to get tether and everything. So it's gonna have more, it's gonna scale more so that it deals less damage. And finally, white wall assault, straight up, you can't Roman cancel white wall assault. You can't like just use a white wall assault to guard crush and then fast RC into some random bullshit. But yeah, honestly, good changes. Honestly, like the wall assaults are kind of useless now. The blue one might be the best because blue one can actually be used for set play, whereas red isn't that useful in combo because it scales the combo very heavily, and the white is now it's now manageable, right? You can block it on reaction. You see a white wall assault coming, you block it, and then you take back your turn. That's pretty cool. All right, character changes. Yeah, every character got a change. Is there a single character who didn't get a change? I believe maybe like Lucy is gonna be like, oh, no changes because she's the newest character. But yeah, let's go right into the characters, starting with Soul Badguy. Okay, this is kind of like my first time reading this, although because the patch has already been out, I kind of know like the idea behind some of these changes. So like I know, for example, here we can see crouching slash for Soul added a stagger effect on counter hit. A few characters are going to have their crouching slash kind of solidified as a whiff punish move, where you use this move to whiff punish, and so you have an added stagger effect on counter hit to confirm easier. So Soul Badguy has this. They mentioned here in the text above, it can now combo into the charged version of Night Raid Vortex on counter hit, so you hit confirm it, fully charged Night Raid Vortex, boom, leads into a combo. Ground throw, when throwing an opponent in your corner, the distance is the same. This is kind of like a bug fix, you could say. This is like consistency type shit. Wild throw can no longer be cancelled from normal and command normals. This is basically so you don't execute it on accident. You never want to do you never want to cancel a button into wild throw, right? Because like you're always looking to get bandit revolver or bandit bringer, right? So having this change just makes it so you no longer accidentally wild throws, pretty much. This might like affect some weird setup and some weird carvers where you go a staggered button into a wild throw to kind of like tech throw your opponent. But basically this is just to make Soul Badguy execution easier. Finally, universal change, Tyrant Rave. Tension gauge is spent on the first round of startup. All of the invincible supers are gonna have that change. I think all of them. As I mentioned earlier, maybe Faust isn't. But like, yo, for the first time, unironically, Soul getting like no change. This is a late season patch, right? This isn't the season 5 patch. This is the late season 4 patch. So most of the characters are gonna have like changes along these lines, except for like the clearly broken, clearly messed up characters. But yeah, Soul, pretty small patch. You don't need to learn all your new combos again. But yeah, crouching slash leading into Night Raid Vortex, pretty cool. Let's go into Kai Kiske. Shock state will no longer end when the opponent is in a hit stun state. This is like the most important change. Oh yeah, and I guess they're changing crouching slash, but who cares? Let's talk about shock state first. This just means that if you have shock state on your opponent and they're blocking, they will keep shock state on them for the entirety of the block string, regardless of if it was supposed to end or not, so that it doesn't end prematurely in a block string before you get your overhead or before you get your actual mix-up in. So now you apply shock state, you lock your opponent in a block string, and you can finish that block string with a move that will be empowered with shock state, which is really cool for Kai. It allows him to finish into whatever and make it safe if he wants to, or finish into something which leads to much greater reward on hit. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's go back one move. Look at the crouching slash move. Reduce knockback, expanded forward hitbox, and some attack hitboxes upward. I don't know what that means. Basically, the hurtbox is shrunk, the hitbox is increased. It's just gonna hit more. Let's see if they explain it. Its incredible range as it reaches farther than the standing far slash, causes less knockback, more viable into neutral, can be comboed into standing heavy slash. Alright, so crouching slash, as we know, the standing slash for Kai is very fast. Kai standing slash is on a whiff. So now crouching slash, once again, solidified as a whiff punish tool, something you use in neutral to control space. And now you can combo it into standing heavy slash, which is a really heavy buffer. Why did I say heavy? I meant easy. Really easy buffer. Crouching slash buffered into a standing heavy. On a whiff, you only get the crouching slash and you recover very fast. On a hit, combo into the standing heavy, into a special move, into an RC, into a wall break. Well, that's pretty much the idea. Stun edge, fixed in issues. Alright, well, we don't care. Fixed in issues, that's not a balance patch. Charge stun edge. Reduce horizontal blowback on the final hit. Increase the launch of the final hit. Make the final hit less susceptible to vertical combo blowback scaling. Let's see if they explain it real quick. The charge, stun edge, easier O-key. Yeah, this is just due to the shock state. They don't really explain it. I'm assuming this means that in the corner, it will be easier to do run-up close slash after a charge stun edge. But this is basically consistency, right? Consistency. I'm assuming that this will also apply to the charge stun edge for the Dragon Install version, where it's very easy to combo after a charge stun edge in the corner, a charge stun edge after a burst bait, or after whatever, after a DP. You do this, it will have better scaling. Also, probably mashing on the wake up will be more risky, because if Kai blocks and you eat the charge stun edge, now it leads into a more consistent combo. So yeah, that's pretty much a change. Let's look at the air version now. Fiction issues where fiction issues, we don't care. Sundipper added a launch effect on the initial hit on grounded opponents. That's pretty cool. It means that the first hit will launch, so probably the 2 hits will connect much more consistently. If you guys didn't know, if the first hit too early, you would actually fall to the ground before the second hit connected, and it was pretty awkward. It would trigger a tech roll on the second hit or whiff entirely. So you'd actually get a very poor position for Kai. And yeah, the second hit has been adjusted so the second hit can't ground tech. I was just mentioning that. Well, I guess they fixed that as well. That's pretty cool. So Stundipper is going to be stronger. It's going to be much scarier for a Kai to approach with Stundipper with 50 meter neutral. And additionally, because the first hit launches, I'm assuming that a fast forward drift RC into a close slash will probably combo. You won't need to slow Roman cancel to combo after the first hit of Sun Edge to get that red Roman cancel pop that launches the opponent in the air. Because the first hit launches, you'll probably be able to do a fast RC combo, which means you save meter, you rebuild meter faster because you get less meter penalty, your combo scaling is better, your corner carry is better. A very nice change for Stundipper, but it's going to be much scarier to fight against Kai when he has 50 meter. Tension gauge spent on the first meter of startup, first second of startup, first frame of startup, right. Fiction issues where too little risk was accumulated during the block, but Dragon is all, who cares? Extended hitbox backward on the Sacred Edge. What? Backwards? Maybe at point blank there were some weird situations where it would whiff. I don't know, dude. Maybe it's gonna hit from backwards. That's kind of sucks. That always sucks when you jump over a projectile and then you get hit from backwards. Ooh. But we'll see. Maybe this was a necessary change. But overall, Kai, Stundipper stronger, crouching slash stronger, and more consistency when it comes to finishing into a reset, like finishing into the Foudre arc, I believe it is, quarter circle back kick, because quarter circle back kick is safe when you have shock state. So that's pretty much the idea. Let's go to May. Far slash reduce knockback, so probably better to combo into Dolphin. Crouching slash reduce knockback, stagger effect on counter hit. Jumping kick, expanded hitbox and hurtbox, so it's probably more consistent as a backdash jump kick to get an overhead in. And finally, tension gauge is spent on the first frame of startup. So once again, pretty small change for May. Pretty small change for a few characters. Let's see if they mention something about the far slash. Meaning they to combo into the S Dolphin. Wow. I can already visualize that stuff in my head. I see reduced knockback, I'm like, oh, it's gonna combo into Dolphin. I know these things, guys. I know these things. That's why I'm the expert. Alright, crouching P. Change hit stun state. I don't know what that means. We'll probably look. More advantageous positions after confirming off of his main poke. So change hit stun state probably means it's like more of a crumple hit, not something that kind of like staggers or launches you backward. So okay, we'll see what this means. Forward kick. When hitting on the ground, the opponent is now launched. Whoa! Another one where now going into a fast RC or just going into an RC in general leads to a much better position, because launching the opponent means they're airborne, and when they're airborne, your close slash pops them even higher in the air. So it's going to be very nice. Removed wall bounce effect, but added a tumble effect. So yeah, tumble effect probably means you can go 6k fast RC, run forward, close slash into probably an Axl bomber right away. But that's going to be pretty cool. Pretty excited to see what this means, because that means Axl Low at close range is now scarier. Snail no longer triggers ground tech on landing, so you can't use this to OTG. Reduce horizontal blowback, made it less susceptible to horizontal combo blowback scaling. Okay, so you won't be popped out of it too easily if the combo is long and you go into a snail, and you can't use it to OTG or accidentally OTG with it after maybe a sweep where you want to go into a sweep into a charged snail to get like the tornado, the type shits, the everything. Now it's gonna not tech roll them. It's an issue where projectile would continue to move when one vision is activated after reflecting the projectile. So when you reflect the projectile with Axl's, well, now not so new move, there was a bug where it would keep moving during one vision. Alright, now it's fixed. Sickle Storm, spent on the first rumor startup, we already know. Chip. Actually, no, yeah, we're moving to Chip. Small change for Axl, we're moving to Chip. Revive some of the properties of sweep. Let's see what they mean. Shrunk the forward hurt box before the startup, so it's safer. Hurt box means you get hit less. Shrunk the forward hurt box. This makes it easier for the opponent's low profile move to hit the opponent's low profile move. Alright, so yeah, shrunk hurt box. Shock hurt box, what am I talking about? easier to poke with it. Easier to kind of control space with a little sweep. A little bit of a sweeper. That's pretty cool. The aerial alpha blade diagonal. So the down, the like bottom left to top right one. In the air. Well, in the air is the opposite. So it's the top left to bottom right. Fix an issue where it's possible to cancel into tightrope after touching the corner and changing direction. Fixing issues, we don't care. Fixing issues, we don't care. Fixing issues, we don't care. So basically, they made chips sweep safer. It's shorter range and far slash, so it's more damage on counter hit, making it an easy to use move with a proper balance of risk reward. That's pretty much the only change. The other ones are issue changes. Potemkin. Okay, Potemkin has a pretty big patch, but Potemkin was kind of top 1 character. Potemkin was way too strong. I'm excited to see what they do. Defense modifier, a higher multiplier. This is, you multiply your damage taken by that number. So multiplying by 0.87 meant a 13% reduction type-ish, and now it's only a 9% reduction, so you increase damage taken. Mega Fist forward. 3 more frames of startup, 3 more frames of landing recovery, so it's -6 on block. No, okay, they kept it at -6. That's what I was thinking. I was like, what? It's already -6. Alright. -6 on block, but more startup, more landing recovery, probably easier to anti-air, and yeah. Reduced launch height after ground bounce, expanding the forward hurt box. Okay, forward hurt box, so easier to anti-air once again. Increased combo scaling, increase the wall break value gain, so it breaks the wall faster, and increase the risk level reduction, so when you hit it, it consumes more risk. Slide head, remove the ability to withstand an attack from the opponent. That's okay, is that armor? No more armor on slide head? The armor effect on slide head was removed! Let's go. It was kind of awkward, honestly. You would jump over it and go for an airborne attack, but you wouldn't actually take back your turn because the armor would tank that hit, and you would recover, and it would block, and it was weird. Additionally, it was really easy to use as an anti-projectile move. You would just do a slide head, kind of like, because as Potemkin, you do slide head when your opponent is far away. And if you do slide head at the same time as your opponent went for a projectile, you tank your projectile, you knock them down, and because you have an armor, you aren't even staggered, so you immediately go for a hammerfall break, and then you're up in their face, and it was kind of stupid. They increased the base damage killing, they increased combo blowback scaling when hitting. That's the first hit in a combo. Okay, so less damage. Less damage. Shrunk the upper hurt box before startup. That means it will probably be slightly harder to jump into him. But it's only before startup, so we'll see. The height of the hurt box is the same as his crouching height. Interesting. Hammerfall has reduced move speed and shortened movement duration. That's interesting. Reduced move speed might be a good thing. It's kind of like an unreactable thing that you do, and now that it has armor, it's kind of messed up. But I will say that this might mean you are now obligated to go for a Kara 6k Hammerfall to get that additional burst of forward momentum to actually get good Oki off of Hammerfall. We'll have to see. FDB, slightly faster. Startup at maximum charge remains unchanged. So if you charge it all the way, if you go for the charge version, it's the same startup, but it's 1 frame faster startup. It's nice. It's not the biggest of deal, but it's still like a 7% faster move, which is always nice, right? Trying to react to these projectiles. Forward kick into FDB strings can now be interrupted by all characters 6p. Interesting. Tension gauge spent on the first meter of startup, but then can lose it. Let's see if Faust losing it. Oh, Faust lost it as well. I was thinking Faust might keep it, because originally Faust was like the only character who could do this consistently, because he had like such a long animation when the super started, and it was kind of unique to Faust to do a super PRC. Additionally, Faust in the early seasons of Guilty Gear was kind of a joke character. He was kind of weak, but like pretty weak, right? So him having access to super PRC meant he had pretty unique ways to spend meters, so I wouldn't have been surprised if they kept it in, right? But it didn't. Fast slash reduce knockback, 6H, remove the stagger effect on counter hit. It now launches the opponent instead of staggering them. Mix, reduce horizontal blowback after evoting the down back during the final hit, which means going for mix, hold down back to kind of break and then land faster into a close slash into a mix will hopefully be more consistent. This makes the change easier for close slash. Dude! I promise you I didn't read that. I promise you I didn't read that. I promise you. This is just the things I know. I know about mix, down back, close slash, mix. Before it required a Kara cancel with like the dash Kara cancel. Because you did close slash, dash Kara cancel, mix, which was pretty difficult to do. So it's a very good change, honestly. It makes Faust the barrier for entry for those close slash starters a lot more manageable, right? You no longer need to actually know how to counter cancel your dashes to get that extension. Millia Rage, tendon top, reduce blowback, expanded hitbox forward. Okay, so the S is gonna reach forward and less horizontal blowback. So probably like these combos where you kind of go like close slash, a 2H, disc, and then you catch them with a 2K, like ting, catch them with a 2K, and you go for something more consistent because there's less horizontal blowback if you don't hit it at point blank range with dash momentum. Artemis, remove the stagger effect on grounded hit. It now launches, so it will launch on grounded hit. Blowback for ground hits differ from that of air hits, probably because you still want your air hits to be the biggest combos. You just want some type of reward off of Artemis on a grounded opponent. And I'm assuming you will have like a wall bounce still on the grounded version. Additionally, we reduced the hurt box to make it as a counter against spokes. Okay, useful and neutral. And yeah, useful and neutral because it launches. You can probably go for Artemis, run up into a heavy disc because you get like a knockdown. Maybe it triggers a tech roll. We'll have to see. Winger, tension gauge pay. Okay, not Zato. Not Eddie. What am I talking about? We're getting a new move. Zato's getting his new move, meaning as of today, Sol, Kai, Leo, and Nago, I believe, are the only characters who don't have their new moves yet. So, yeah. Wait, did Leo get a new move? No, I'm crazy. Leo did not get a new move. Not to see. Float. New special move, Float. Adjustment to Eddy Gauge. When Ghost Psych Burst hit, recovers starting over the remaining amount. Okay, so if you get Gold Bursted, it no longer starts at 0. Recovery speed of Eddie's life from 0 has been increased. It recovers faster, do they say? Approximately 1.7 seconds. It was like 2 point something seconds before. That's nice. That's a nice change. Oppose, startup 1 frame faster. Who gives a fuck? 74 to 73 frames. That's never going to make a difference. Stop of the projectile intercepting hitbox change from frame 8 to frame 7. That's actually pretty nice. Reduce horizontal blowback after the ground bounce. Increased float height after ground bounce. Expanded proximity requirement forward. Float, new move. They don't really explain it. Do they explain it? Float pulls Eddie back to the player's position and can be launched at any time. While Eddie has no hitbox during the launch, his trajectory can be altered with a button input, allowing him to be sent to various positions. In particular, launching Eddie behind the opponent is a powerful tactic and serves as a new starting point for offensive strategies. So you pick him up like a ball and you throw him. You throw the Eddie ball and then he lands depending on which button you use to throw him. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Drunken Shade, projectile invincibility in the when you're kind of like going into the floor, you know. Ramlethal changes. Sweep, hitbox adjustment, kind of like Chip, but a hurt box expanded, so it's gonna be like a further reaching move, but you can still counter hit it. Jumping heavy. Whoa! 29 active frames up to 6. If you guys didn't know, kind of like Baiken's jumping heavy. Someone where she points her sword downwards, and she kind of just like holds it there, and she falls onto you, and it's active for half a second. Now it's only active for 6 frames, which is really nice. And more landing recovery, really nice. Meaning she can't just go like super jump, double jump, activate it, and there's no way you anti-air it because there's a big disjointed sword coming into your brain. All right, nice change. Sword toss, slasher heavy, decrease the guard crush duration. Yes! Frame advantage on block, change from plus 30 to plus 20 for the S version, plus 33 to plus 23 for the heavy version. Nice change as well. Active frame of the explosion, 5 legs active frame of the explosion. Very nice. The little DP move where you kind of like dash forward with your hand and you kind of like do a high five. Change hit stun state of the opponent. Do you explain it? Doro, they don't explain it. Hit stun state. I don't know what that means. Maybe on counter hit it launches. Maybe that's what it means, but they don't explain. Quarter circle back kick. Aerial slide. Landing recovery severely increased knockback, and added a proximity requirements downwards. Ondo, this is the rock. Ondo's the rock, right? Ondo's the rock. Decreased startup, decreased attack level, active frames increased. Overall, the duration is 3 frames faster, but the advantage is from +7 to -4. Yes! Now you can block the rock and actually take back your turn. It's no longer block the rock, kick. Block the rock, kick, sword toss. Block the rock, kick, Gatling, block the rock. Like, yo, fuck the rock, dude. Reduce hit stop, strengthening the vacuuming effects are going to be even closer, and it's going to be your turn. That's going to be awesome. Reduce risk level duration, decrease combo blowback scaling, decrease whatever, decrease wall break. Alright. So it's useful in combo probably. It's pretty much the same thing in combo. The overall duration is shorter in combo, so you might even open up some new combos where you would go rock into air, into like a kick on the airborne opponent. Maybe you might be able to go for a close slash instead. But we'll see. Calvados. Character now moves backward during the freeze effect. Yeah. Before you kind of like whiffed the first part. If you were standing point blank next to your opponent, you would actually whiff the early attacks, and sometimes it would trigger the opponent to unstick from the wall. So it's going to TP you back a little so that you get the full hit in. And Water Battle's tension gauge spans because it's an invincible super. Sweep. Reduce horizontal blowback for Leo. Heavy DP. The opponent now recovers upon landing. Yes! Yes, recovers upon landing upon hitting his heavy DP. So he's going to actually have to think before going into his back stance. Heavy slash during back stance. Decrease attack level and increase knockback on block. That's like the overhead one. So blocking the overhead one most likely means you actually get to take back your turn, especially if you FD it. If you FD the overhead one with increased knockback on block, I'm assuming you're pushed far away enough so that if he goes for a second one, you can 6P. Depending on your character, you can DP, you can go for a super, you can do whatever, but you can probably take back your turn even though you're slightly negative because you're so far out of range. Tension gauge span for the thing. Let's read what they had to say about this. Now teching, even if the heavy DP gives low risk move, it's very difficult to transition into Oki using the stance. So okay, now you're gonna be able to kind of get a bit of Oki, but you won't be able to go into the stance automatically. You'll actually be able to do a close slash. You'll actually, because of the reduced blowback, reduced horizontal blowback, you'll be able to go for a close slash, which is nice, but no stance. So okay, you have to block a close slash. No stance. I'm happy with that. Sweep has horizontal knockback, but they didn't really talk about this one. Oh, this one. Now creates a greater distance. The attack level has been lowered. Leo will still have an advantage if he cancelled the stance after. It is more challenging to approach again. Okay, so if he goes for the move into cancel stance, into back to the normal stance, he can keep his pressure going, but you're far away, so you have opportunities to challenge. But if he stays in the stance, he definitely doesn't get to immediately go into another close slash, into another heavy, or into another low, into a close slash, into a low, into a close slash, into a heavy, into whatever. Nice changes. Overall, yo, they're kind of cooking. Ramlethal, good changes. Leo, good changes. We'll have to see. Potemkin, good changes. We'll have to see if they keep actually messing up the top tier characters. Defense. Adjusted how defense changes with the blood amount. This may result in a slight difference. Okay, whatever. Basically, because they changed how risk is accumulated, they're also changing how much damage you take depending on how much blood you have. Okay, we'll have to see what this means because they just don't say it. They don't say it. Standing heavy, decrease launch height, reduce blowback, reduce horizontal blowback. The Beyblade. Change forward to mid! Let's go! That was so dumb, by the way. You would do Beyblade, DP first hit, Beyblade, DP first hit, DP second hit. You got hit by the overhead. You got hit by the third overhead. And because you got hit by the third overhead, now I'm in your face, and it's a 50-50. Either I go for the command grab, and I get back all my blood, and I'm doing it again, or I go for a move, I pop, and because I hit you, the pop launches you, and I get a wall break off of my pop into the enhanced super. It was so stupid. Beyblade Nagoriyuki low. I'm so happy. DP. The 2-hit DP. Reduce the cancel middle. Dude, they nerfed both. Now you actually have to think. You can't just go for like first hit of DP, go eat a sandwich, second hit of DP. Now it's worse to frame trap. That's nice. That's really nice. Those are really nice changes. So actually, Nagoriyuki is kind of like solidified as like this kind of like feast or famine type character. Not really feast or famine, right? But you have to manage your resources. You can't go for retarded mix-ups all the time. The second hit of the overhead is the second hit of the DP is still an overhead, but you no longer just have like this DP first hit into either the Beyblade or the second hit. Ah, that's nice. That's really nice. you'll have to think about command grab much more often, right? Command grab is going to clearly be where Nago gets all of his power, but that's nice. He no longer gets bullshit low, bullshit overhead. Nice. Into the super, tension gauge spent. And then the close range made it easier for the opponent to be hit by the attack during the long con effect. Okay, so probably expanded the area where you get like the clean hit, you could say. Because if you hit at full range, you get like a partial hit. Pretty much, this is like the same thing they said, right? Change to the risk level depending on her power-up state. Change to the risk level depending on blood gauge. So yeah, if Giovanna has above 50 meter or above 100 meter, she changes color. She changes stun color. The change defense. They don't explain it, but change defense. All right. So, Disipuluva. Backward kick during Chave. Which one is the kick? Because they made like the input system easier for Gio. Before she had the DP, the quarter circle back, and the quarter circle forward. I'm assuming quarter circle back is... No. So, it's quarter circle back to start the enhance, and then back kick. Which one is it? I'm assuming it's the overhead. I don't know, dude. I don't remember the names of the move for Gio, dude, because they changed the inputs. So again, no, Sol Puente is the overhead. Chave is the thing. So this has to be the dog. This has to be the dog. So going for a heavy into enhanced dog will hit more consistently. That's nice. This has to be the dog because forward kick would be the drill, backward kick would be the dog, and quarter circle back slash is Sol Puente. Nice. Giovanna now enters an aerial state as soon as the hitbox of the first hit activated for both the standard and powered up version. So she's counted as airborne probably for things like, oh my god, oops. Probably for things like Potemkin Buster and stuff like that. Chave no longer triggers a blocking pose for the opponent, fixing issues where the punish text would not be displayed when taking damage during the action. Okay, who cares? Tension gauge spent. Anji changes. Anji changes! What the hell? Only 2 changes? Alright, crouching heavy. Increased startup. Severely decreased recovery. Yeah, because you reduce recovery by 10 frames. It goes from -4 to +6. And it expands your hitbox forward. Okay. Hidari. Reduce Gosh duration. And it goes from +11 to -2. Okay, good changes, and I'm going to talk about those changes. Midari was so stupid, you would do it all the time. You will do it always. There was no reason not to go for Midari. You would no longer even have to think about what move you just spun. You just go for Midari every time. Now you actually have to think. You have to think, did I spin a far slash? Was it a 10 frame far slash? Am I able to throw? Am I able to go for my own far slash? Do I go for a 2K2D into a projectile? Do I go run up close slash? Do I go for Midari, right? You have to think about these options. Before you just Midari all the time. Because it gave you a hard knockdown, you just Midari all the time. And if they block it, you're +11, so you run up close slash. Now you have to think. This is a really good change. I'm gonna kind of like have to go back in the lab and actually have to relearn all the frame data for all the different far slash I might block, all the special moves, all the heavy slash, all the punch. Is a punch safe? Is a jumping move safe? All of that is gonna have to be like re-studied, but it's a really good change. And then the crouching heavy slate, the change, yeah, they explain it right here. Adds new apprenticeship options. Before it was useless. You used it sometimes in combos, but pretty much every combo where you could go into a crouching heavy, you could also just do the standing heavy into a variation using a Kara cancel after a kick or after a close slash. So now this is solidified as kind of like a reset move. Instead of going close slash crouch heavy, instead of going close slash standing heavy into Fujin, you can go close slash crouch heavy, and because you're +6, you can probably go for a reset into a close slash, a reset into a 2K, into a 5K, into a sweep, into whatever. Or maybe even possibly cancel early your crouching heavy into a charged Fujin. This is going to be interesting. It's very interesting. +6 on block is very, very good. So we're going to have to see what this means. Eno changes. Standing heavy now moves forward during the action. The Mad Love, I think that's the new one. I don't know. I don't remember which one Mad Love is. I think that's the new one. Increase startup. Sped up the timing where Eno becomes airborne. Frame advantage on block is unchanged. Reduce the blowback. Increase launch height. Fix an issue where the character was in a counter hit state until the end of recovery after connecting with the opponent. And the super now super gauge is spent. Alright, cool. Goldlewis takes more damage, 3%. a decrease in its defensive value. Jumping D, active for way less, like less than twice as much. All versions of Behemoth Typhoon have counter hit effect changed on the ground version. Let's say they change it. Change now remains a powerful counter hit effect. What? But it just don't say anything. There's more time to perform a follow-up after a counter hit, allowing for more powerful combos. So if you hit a grounded version, Goldlewis has more time to react. Opponent will now take upon landing if you hit an aerial version. That's nice. Download the system, meter is spent. Jako absorbs countdown explosion. Okay, so your block, your minion command block can now absorb minion command detonate. And countdown, so that's a detonate. That's almost twice as fast. Countdown is going to explode in 2 seconds instead of 3.5 seconds, which is really nice. You're actually going to be able to use it in combos or for Oki. No longer triggers counter on landing and spends your meter on the first frame when you super. That's nice. That's actually really cool. Not the biggest changes for Jako, but Jako is honestly in a pretty okay position, so I like it. And the idea is now actually countdown is going to be useful. You can actually use it. Yo, 3.5 seconds. When can you ever predict what's going to happen 3.5 seconds into the future of a fighting game? That's absurd. And now defend can actually block countdown, which is cool, right? In the Jako mirror, you can actually use it to... Oh no, wait! This means... This isn't what I thought it meant. I thought it meant that defend now prevents the minion from dying. This actually means that you can use defend on a minion in countdown to stop the countdown. Ah! That's very cool. I think that's what it means, right? This allows it to be used as an inversion V measure to evade the explosion. However, if the hitbox of the explosion will disappear. I'm actually not even sure anymore. I'm not even sure anymore. I thought I read this and I thought it meant that Jako can activate defense to keep her minions alive, but now I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Whichever one it is, I think it's cool. If it's just to make the mirror more consistent with the rest of the projectiles, that's cool. And if it's actually that you can start countdown and then be like, no, never mind, my minions are now out of position, the opponent jumped out of the corner, I'm going to spend a few frames doing a defend command so my minions can stay alive. And then because your opponent knows this, your opponent knows he might be able to run in. But then because you know that your opponent might be able to run in, you know that if you don't do the defend command and instead go for an aggressive move, you can launch a minion who's about to explode into his face and go for a big combo launcher. That's very cool. Whichever one it is cool. Happy Chaos. Crossing slash, increase recovery, massively decrease frame advantage, forward slash, reduce the movement distance, so I guess you move less forward. Scapegoat, move clone generation position forward. When a clone is generated, it faces the opponent. Oh, that's cool. When a clone is generated, it faces the opponent. It means if you're point blank with the opponent, like after a knockdown, and you put a clone behind him, you will actually sandwich him. Instead of like being a backwards clone that you can walk backwards into, it will be a forward, technically, facing clone. So he will be sandwiched. That's really cool. You can probably go for like some crazy combo, or you go for a launcher, put a clone behind him, and now he's sandwiched between you and the clone, so you can like keep him in there for a long time. Reduce HP usage and reduce movement distance. Pretty cool changes. Baiken, crouching heavy slash, reduce knockback. Josansen in the air, shrunk the downward hitbox of the first hit for the active frames. So there's no way that means you can't go for an instant overhead with Josansen. Let's see what they mean. The downward hitbox of the start of the Josansen is reduced, while it will still connect as before when used at the lowest possible altitude. Okay, so that's a Tiger Knee Josansen. It will be more difficult to hit Josansen after an aerial backdash. Okay, so jump, immediate backdash Josansen is now no longer as risk-free as it was before. You actually have to commit to a Tiger Knee Josansen, or if you want to go for the other version, it's going to be easier to react to. That's a nice change, because jump backdash into a button is super safe. So Baiken have written jump backdash Josansen to build a lot of meter, get your opponent stuck in hit stun, take back her turn. That was very stupid, so I'm glad they did that. Higari, which one is that? That's a parry. Command input now resets when either parrying an opponent's attack from a long range or activating Higari during block stun. I'm assuming this means that when you're... I'm not sure. The command input resets upon a successful parry. This makes it less likely to trigger unattended moves. So I'm assuming if you do quarter circle forward, punch, and the first one connects, your next punch is no longer a quarter circle forward punch. It is now a punch. So you no longer accidentally buffer behind your first parry if the first parry successfully parries. This also means that if you're mashing quarter circle parry, during block stun, each time you press punch, you lose that buffer. So if the next time you're doing a bad quarter circle forward, which is a partial quarter circle forward because you're kind of just mashing them, kind of how like you would mash a DP, they won't actually come out, which is a really good change. It makes parry much more deliberate, and you no longer accidentally miss input after parry. The invincible super, the thing is spent right away. The opponent will now be launched when transitioning into the locked cinematic upon hitting with the second hit. Okay, sure. Fix an issue where the opponent could exhibit unintended behavior when the second hit connected when the opponent landed. Sure. Sweep, reduce the horizontal blowback, so probably better combos of the sweep. Stained, no longer activated by OTG hits. Really nice, so you can actually OTG your opponent without just wasting your stain. Change the hit stun state when the opponent is hit by the second projectile of the heavy thing. So okay, probably means that the second projectile will keep your opponent closer. The second hit of the projectile will keep your opponent closer so that it combos easier. Unholy diver, no longer gonna triggers the opponent to land when it hits midair. To tech. Okay, so if you go for a move which will give you a hard knockdown, and then go for the crow to apply stain, it will no longer remove that hard knockdown. You will kill that hard knockdown. So that's nice. Calamity 1, the invincible super, tension gauge spin right away. Crouching heavy, reduced knockback, reduced launch height on aerial block. Cool. So actually you land faster if you air block it. So if you bait it as an anti-air, you actually land faster. That's nice. Rolling movement, slightly, whoa, very much increase the damage. What the hell? Fix an issue where the Roman cancel at the same time as landing a performance. Who cares? It's a fix an issue. Rock the baby aerial. So the command grab in the air. It has less startup. Can now grab the opponent when they're in hit stun. I think I saw a clip about this. I saw a clip where Bridget went for a charged dust combo, and in their charged dust combo, because you can now use that move, they went for a command grab, and the command grab triggered a wall break on an invisible wall during the charged dust combo, which was weird. Anyway, yeah, because always triggers wall break after hitting near a corner, so I guess that's where the unintended bug happens. Okay, pretty cool. So actually using Rock the Baby in the air, you can use it on a blocking opponent and instantly break the wall. So like if I'm in the corner and I try to jump against Bridget, she air-to-airs me, I block, she buffers a Rock the Baby, so if her air-to-air hit connects, she gets special move cancel into it, and then if I get hit by that, I'm in block stun, so like I have to like immediately backdash or immediately go for a second jump, or yo, that scene is kind of messed up, honestly. There's probably gonna be some crazy unblockable setups in the corner. Anyway, moving on. Yo, we're only like in the season 2 characters. Actually, that's kind of far. Season 2, season 3, season 4. There's like 10 characters left. Let's do this. Sin Kiske. Crouching kick. More minus, more recovery, because it's more minus. Jumping S, more active. Big driver follow up. Or the stumble duration, nice. So you can probably no longer go big driver run into a full run forward into a close slash. Hog Baker, that's a DP. Expanded the hitbox forward, reduced horizontal blowback. Elk Hunt kick follow up, so that's a dash follow up. Launch height when Elk Hunt, no, I'm stupid. Elk Hunt is the over. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure. Decreased launch height when Elk Hunt or Elk Hunt follow-up hits the first hit. I'm not even sure which one Elk Hunt is at this point. I forgot. The Hoof Stomp decreased the height of the ground bounce, so that's the overhead. Yeah, Elk Hunt is the low. This is the overhead. So the low has decreased launch height when it's the first hit of the combo. So if you go for an Elk Hunt immediate Roman cancel, you will go for a worse combo because your opponent will land for faster, as opposed to before he would be launched high into the air and you can juggle him for longer. Alright, S version, that's the overhead, I think. I'm not even sure, dude. Decrease the height of the ground bounce after change opponent hits stun after the ground bounce. Ready lightning, tension gauge spent. And the tyrant barrel super can no longer counter hit on the first hit, which is nice because it's like, yeah, you don't want your supers to counter hit because you went for a wake up super like a dumbass. Alright, Bedman. More damage taken. How defenses change due to the Call 13C are processed. So another change where someone has a unique mechanic that allows them to take less damage. So in the case of Bedman, they don't say it, but they say, oh yeah, we're adjusting that unique defense mechanic as well. Kind of like with Giovanna and Nagoriyuki. Alright, the projectile. Change the projectile effect of the first frame after startup. So the projectile launches the opponent. Ooh, an increased knockback. So it's a stronger projectile. The property remains unchanged from the previous version. So if you hit a projectile at point blank, it's a stronger projectile that launches. You can probably go for some cool close slash into point blank projectile combo in the corner where the backwards knockback or horizontal knockback doesn't put you too far away from them, and you can pick them up and go for something cool. Call for B9 or like the bomb, I think. The projectile from Air 6C no longer extends past the corner. Cool. And the super tension gauge is spent. Alright. Let's see what Asuka has. The test case 2 has one less Howling Mitron and one less Aquila Mitron. I forgot which one these are. Okay, Aquila Mitron is the DP one, and it's no longer invincible. Insane. And so Howling Mitron? I don't know which one Howling Mitron is. Maybe it's the big ball. I'm assuming if Aquila Mitron is the DP, it's like the little X one with like the force thing, lightning thing. So this is probably the ball, but I'm not sure. Recovers mana instant, increased mana recovery. Low pass filter gravity, so that's the staff that makes it so there's less gravity on your balls. Blowback of magic affected by low pass gravity added groundbox effect. Okay, sure. Delayed Howling Mitron. Friction issue where the speed of Howling Mitron delay would drastically decelerate under standard conditions. Wait. No, so Howling Mitron is the big cube, I think, then, because you have the speed up version of that cube, and now you have the delayed Howling Mitron. Killa Mitron, from an invisible move to a move that frees an opponent on it, so it's no longer invisible. Nice. Properties such as the hitbox position in recovery has been adjusted in line with this change. Nice. Remove strikes or invisibility. Let's go. Can now be cancelled into special move because it's no longer DP. Nice. Reduced mana depletion during the time stop effect is pretty nice because you would just bleed out mana during the super. It's pretty cool. Moving on to Johnny. Forward dash has reduced movement speed, but it's the same frame data. Due to the change in movement speed, movement distance is reduced, of course, so it's like the same dash, but it moves forward less. It was kind of stupid. Before it was relatively slow, it was like a 26, no, it was a 23 frames forward dash. They made it 20, but they kept the speed, so you would just go dash and be in your opponent's face 6 frames faster than before, where you go dash. Basically, it was too fast, now it's slower. His backdash also has more recovery. Less knockback on his far slash, and less knockback on his heavy slash, so probably better to combo into them. Vault delayed the mid-air follow-up timing, so probably easier to hit. That's my name, tension gauge span. And Joker's Trick fixed an issues. If Chip had double Gamma Blade, you would hit both. Okay, so you can no longer super the clones of Chip to instantly win the round. I don't know why it says to win the round. Like, okay, you deal more damage, but did it really one-shot with 0 risk? It's kind of crazy. Anyway, alright. They mentioned, wait, it's increased knockback on the heavy and reduce on the slash. So increased knockback, creating more distance with the opponent. And duty margins, like, okay, reduce knockback on the far slash, making it easier to connect into the heavy. But to make probably the overall knockback the same, they increase the knockback on heavy. So it's more difficult to combo into Misfinal Wall Assault after hitting at the far edge, which is nice. On the other hand, the increased distance reduces the risk of placing a card like Deal after standing heavy slash is blocked. That's cool. Moving on to Elphelt. Commands normal 3. Heavy slash after standing heavy slash. No longer launches the opponent on grounded hit, added a stagger effect. You never see that move really often, but okay, sure. Change Lollipop. After performing Here I Go as the Change Lollipop starter, up to 2 follow-ups can be performed. Wait. Okay. Performing Here I Go again during Change Lollipop no longer resets the number of follow-up possible. So after you do your first Rekka, you only get 2 follow-up. So you can go low, high, high, low, high, or low, say finisher, high, say finisher, or another Rekka 1 into 1 overhead, 1 low, 1 say finisher. But you can't go Rekka 1, low, Rekka 1, high, Rekka 1, low, Rekka 1, low, RC, Rekka 1, low, Rekka 1, high, Rekka 1, high, RC, and loop that forever. So you only get 2 follow-ups after the first Rekka. Let's go, dude! Let's go! After performing A dash cancel out of Here I Go. The startup of the dash can no longer cancel into another Here I Go. Yeah, because you can Kara cancel your dash into Here I Go, but now you can't. Up high. The overhead after Here I Go. Expanded hitbox and hurtbox downward. Okay, this probably means that the first hit will hit on crushing opponents. As before, the first hit didn't hit on crushing opponents, so you could kind of like OS it. You would crouch, the first hit of the overhead would whiff, or you would block the low, and then you could uncrouch. And if you blocked the low, you would uncrouch and you were in block stun. But if you didn't block the overhead because the first hit whiffed, you would then block the second hit. So I'm assuming an expanding hitbox downward means you now hit on crouched opponent. So it's actually a true 50-50, but luckily it's no longer like 10 50-50s. It's 1 50-50. That's nice. Tension gauge spent at the start added launch effect on ground hit, so yeah, I can actually probably combo from it easier because of the changes to the stagger mechanics. As you guys might remember earlier, the universal changes to the stagger mechanic is that you only need to press one button to fully, quote-unquote, counter the stagger. So now, because it triggers a stagger, you only need to press one button. It will probably be way too easy to get out of it. So now, you launch your opponent if you hit it. Nice. Projectiles will now disappear if Elphelt enters a hit stun state. That's nice. So if she applies it on you, you'll get out of it after a wall break maybe, and you hit her right away, you no longer explode. Kind of like Stain State. A.B.A. No! What? Alright. That's crazy. Jealousy Gouge will no longer decrease during a successful throw. Before, it was pretty good to play strike throw against A.B.A. You would react to her overhead, you would react to her low, but you would take throws because the throw animation was really long, and she would deplete a lot of Jealousy Gauge during that duration. Now she doesn't. Now going for a throw as A.B.A. is free. It costs nothing. So it's very, very good. That's kind of surprising that they went for that. That's very, very good. I thought the whole idea behind making her throw such like a long animation where she scratches through 100 times was that going for a throw is supposed to be like your last resort, right? But now it's just free. That's going to be insane. Aerial bonding and dissolving no longer moves backward when the action is interrupted during the animation. So that's the key grab. So if you do key grab, you no longer move backwards if the action is interrupted. I don't know what it means. Probably if you RC it, you would move backwards. I don't know. Corsical forward kick. That's the overhead. Expanded the hurt box downward before the attack comes out. So the hurt box downward expansion means you can probably no longer use it as a low crush move, right? Because you would jump over lows using this. Do they mention it? Frenzy and judgment. Expanded downwards, making it more difficult to evade grounded potion projectile. Yeah, you would jump way too high over everything. I get it, you're supposed to like jump over sweeps, but you would jump over far slashes most of the time, like standing far slashes, which was kind of crazy. So you can no longer just low crush everything. Finally, lies Kiske King, spend the tension gauge, and in the Jealousy Rage, change the gauge. And another change for Chip if you have Gamma Blade, because you would be able to one-shot a Chip using Gamma Blade, you no longer do. I guess this was an unintended behavior. Maybe because it was like hitting the clone multiple times when it was not supposed to or something. Anyway, Slayer changes. Sending P, increase attack level, slightly more recovery, but the frame advantage remains unchanged because it's a higher attack level, which causes more block stun. Same thing for Crouching P. Crouching heavy blowback adjustment, increased horizontal blowback on counter hit, so the big like stomp on the ground, increased horizontal blowback, so maybe less combos from them at full range, two-dimensionally. Reduce the reward from a counter hit at this distance, yeah. And then Master Hammer, so the heavy, the reset version, increased guard crush duration. I thought the whole point was to decrease the guard crush duration. God damn it. Firm advantage on block that remains unchanged, fine. Low power judgment no longer triggers grounded tech upon landing, increase the height of the ground bounce, increase long height on counter hit. The follow-up input buffer remains unchanged. Fine. I guess, okay, because the frame advantage on block remains unchanged, I'm guessing that this is due to the fact that, once again, getting out of a stagger is easier, so the guard crush is gonna be longer because the guard crush are reduced. I don't know. By the way, you can yellow RC during a guard crush, by the way. I never mentioned it when I was talking about the Roman cancels, but you can yellow RC while in guard crush, so it's honestly not too bad. Green Dizzy. Far slash, shrunk for the hurt box forward, so better at a poke. Crushing slack, expanding hitbox forward, once again, better as a poke. Frozen state no longer triggers wall stick in your opponent if your opponent slips onto the wall. That was stupid. That felt like a bug. Like you would just slide backward a little bit and on the wall, and you were like, okay, I'm gonna kill myself. Increase the clash level, so it's a higher level projectile. Change the active frame much more active for like I use this to catch fish. These are the 2 projectiles. The active frames end after connecting with the opponent. Cool. Mikael's sword no longer triggers ground take upon landing, or boosts the tumble effect, especially. Yeah, it was kind of stupid. It was kind of stupid on counter hit. Imperial Ray, sorry. Tension gauge spent out the first frame, and then the Gamma Ray. If the initial projectile does not hit, it no longer transitions into the cinematic. This was very weird. You would kind of like, you would block it. You would block a projectile for like 12 frames. No, it felt like half a second. You would block a beam and it would go, and then the cinematic would trigger, and it was like, okay, well, fuck you. 100% of the tension gauge is spent during the first time frame effect. Added strike and throw invulnerability starting from the time freeze effect. Fixed an issue where the projectile hitbox would sometimes disappear during the time freeze effect. Alright, so once again, 100% of the meter is spent, even if you whiff it. So if you whiff it before it was spent 50 only and with the 100 meter, you could throw it, whiff it, 50 meter for the super, 50 meter for the RC, and you were fine. Alright, Venom. We're near the end, dude. Venom. Standing P. Increased ball movement speed. Nice. Standing K. Expanded the hitbox and hardbox forward, so it's a bigger kick. Crouching heavy. Reduce horizontal blowback on the second hit. That's the one where you go like 1, 2 and launch them into the air. So reduced horizontal blowback. I mean, yeah, I guess that means you launch them further, like less further back, so they stay closer to you, so you can combo better. Jumping punch. Ball movement speed, kind of like a standing punch. Kick. The jumping kick. Once again, expanded hitbox and earthbox, so his kick, both jumping and standing are better. Jumping slash. Added the hitbox only when striking balls after the active frames, and that's the one where you kind of sweep in like half a circle. That's nice. So a hitbox only to strike balls probably means that jumping over your opponent, air dashing, crouching slash, you will probably be able to launch a ball backward as a cross up. Jumping heavy, once again a hitbox only to hit the ball. Balls deal more damage. Change the duration. Balls, oh, they stay for 5 seconds now. That's awesome. Fixing issues where the ball struck speed depending on the position between Venom and the ball when it was struck. Fixing issue where the outcome could differ when the balls collided with each other if balls were present on screen. Fixing issues where balls would not collide with each other when struck at low speed. Fixing issues where ball generated by charged carcass raid, stinger aim, and Q5 would not collide with other balls. Fixing issues where ball generated with carcass raid, stinger aim, would continue to follow Venom. Cool changes. So overall, all of his normals are better, and ball deal more damage. That's nice. The DP move, Q5, expanded hitbox for the non-charge and light charge version. Nice. So it's no longer only the fully charged version which will connect after specific hit has long ranges. Charge carcass raid, damage of the initial hit severely increased, kind of to match the idea that the ball deals more damage because it's a ball move. The slash version, increased risk level, reduction on the initial hit, combo blowback scaling, wall break value, recovery decreased, so the advantage on block form -3 to +5. That's nice because honestly, it was kind of stupid having to do the heavy version only to loop. If you don't know how to Kara, being able to do the slash version is cool. Oh my god, no, I'm getting chatted by a scammer. He's gonna ruin my video. I have to block him. Block all communication. Boom. There we go. Tiambaka, the super where you... No, wait, that's a command grab. Distance after the effect in the corner has been unified regardless of opponent character. That's nice because big body character would kind of like spawn and be big and push you back a little. Now it's hopefully going to be more consistent. Unika, as the final character, we got through all of it. Been in the game for a short period of time. Few adjustments, but we still get a few things. Okay, proximity requirement for the projectile part of the projectile. Preventing it from hitting an opponent located behind the character. Okay, so you can't hit cross-up projectile because you jumped over it and it was stupid. Tension gauge spent on the first frame of startup. Oh, we're done! That's all of it. That's all the patch. So, final thoughts? Great patch. All of the problematic characters were addressed, meaning this is like a great starting point for ranked. Ranked releases, it's not that big of a patch. You can kind of learn your 1 or 2 new character combo specific and just jump right away into ranked. And because we have ranked, we will now have a great metric for actually determining which characters are too strong. Before it was kind of word of mouth, right? I don't like this character feels too easy to play. Slayer is overpowered, but in reality, Slayer was never really like a top 1 character. It was just that he was super easy to pick up. You do 2 moves into a special move, and that's half your opponent's health. And it makes it so that at the low to medium to maybe even high level, he's very easy to play and be successful with. Now with an actual rank system, the future patches will hopefully be like all of this quality, very, very like very good patches in regards to how they target the balance of the game. This patch mostly like addressed like complaints where it came to like just playing for fun, right? It's not fun that Potemkin armors through a projectile. It's not fun that Elphelt can go into a Rekka forever. It's not fun to get guard crushed, etc. So now is a fresh start, right? End of season 4. Season 5 is gonna mark probably, hopefully, people are speculating that it's the halfway point of the life of Guilty Gear, because the new like Marvel game, they addressed like they confirmed that it would have like 10 years of support after the release. So going into Guilty Gear 2.0 really does feel like the halfway point. Like it's kind of like how a Guilty Gear Xrd got into Rev 2 before getting like the rest of the balance and everything. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go live at some point. I don't know where this video is gonna upload, and like, yo, I've been talking for what, like an hour plus? I don't know. How long has it been? Yeah, it's been an hour pretty much exactly. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good time playing ranked, have a good time playing the game. And yeah, I'll see you guys live if you come. And if not, well, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.